oil. Okay, let's get started. So today we're going to work on the lady wreath that I did before and a lot of other people have done. So I'm just going to show you the way that I do it. First, you're going to need a 14-inch. This is the size that I'm using. I got from the Dollar Tree. A 14-inch wire wreath. The last time I did it, I used a foam board that I got from the Dollar Tree, and you can just cut this to size, and just depends on how you want your wreath to look, how big you want to do it, just determines the size. And I just painted the foam wreath of the foam board, the color of the face that I want. This time I'm using wood, and I got this piece of wood from Lowe's. I went inside the in the wood lumber section, and they have a little area for shelving planks, and this is where I got this piece from, and it was enough for me to cut. It was big enough for me to cut 2 faces out of it. So and I just made a pattern and cut it out, drew the pattern and used a jigsaw and cut it out. Then I took a drill and I put my wreath, kind of like measured it where I wanted it to go. I just put the wreath upside down and just kind of play with where I wanted the hairpiece to be. So I just marked my spot with the wreath, and then I just drilled 2 holes for the top and 2 holes from the bottom. Then I took a pipe cleaner, and I will be using pipe cleaners for this entire craft. A lot of people use, I'll be using zip ties for this entire craft. A lot of people use pipe cleaners, but to me, the zip ties just go a little faster for me. So that's my preference. So what I did with the zip ties, I just place it in one hole and then just take it through the other. So that I can fasten it to my wreath. Now, with my board, before I painted it, I primed it with some white spray paint that has the primer already in it. And I let that dry, and then I painted it the color that I wanted it to be. So, now, all I'm going to do is take the zip ties that I've already attached to my wood and just attach it to my wreath. Okay, and then just attach the zip ties. Oh, okay. Let's do this one. Let's see. There we go. That one went over a little better. And just trim it. And then do the same thing on this side. Okay. That's the wrong size. So you can get your zip ties in any size. So I'm just working with the smaller ones. Okay. Now that I have it already fastened, what I like to do is just play around with my scarf. And this is a piece of fabric that I purchased from Hobby Lobby. And I got a yard of it, and I just cut it in half because it was so wide. I just cut it in half. So I'm just going to lay my fabric across the front part of the head just to kind of see where I want my scarf to go, how far down I want it to come, how much of the hair I want it to cover, how much of the hair is going to be out. Okay. So and I just kind of like eyeball it, marking it of how far down I want the scarf to come. So, okay. Now for the hair, I'm using black deco mesh, and I got these from Michael's. This is the 12-inch by 35 feet. I'm gonna use 1.5 of this. I'm gonna use 2 because I'm gonna do all black on this one. But if you're doing another color, depending on how much of the color that you want to show in, will determine how much of each roll you're gonna use. So like with the first one, because I used more gold and just a few pieces of red, I used 1.5 for the first one. But for this one, I'm gonna use 2 whole rolls. And then I have my cotton mat. So this little rotary cutter I purchased from Walmart. It was maybe $5 or $6, as well as my mat. So I'm just gonna measure it out to 10 inches and just cut it there. And I use the rotary because it's easier and a whole lot quicker than using the scissors, and you get a smoother edge too. So I roll out 10 inches and cut it. So I did 2 of the whole roll. Hi Amanda. Hi Nita. Hi Chantilly. So what I'm going to do first is, once I've cut all of my pieces, each one is 10 inches long, I'm just going to roll it and attach it at the same time. So I'm using the small red zip ties. These ones I got from the Dollar Tree. You can get a pack of 100 for like $1. I think it was like $1.19, $1.20 from Walmart inside the hardware section. So, okay. Zip tie don't want to work right today. You don't want to act right today. Sometimes you get it like that. Oh, they keep snapping. This one, let's see. Let's use the right one. Now, all right. So now that everything is secure, not moving, what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to roll my edges, the cut ends, the 2 sides that's cut. I'm gonna roll them into each other. And you can do it as tight or as loose as you want. Just depends on how big of a curl that you're trying to do. And once I rolled it together, I'm just gonna take a zip tie, wrap it, and secure it. And then trim my edge, the excess. Okay, so you're just going to continue with this. You don't have to go all the way to the end You don't have to go all the way here, because the more you put on, the fuller it will get. So I'm gonna put deco mesh on the second inside ring and the last outside ring. That's where I'm gonna place my deco mesh, all the way around on each side, on each ring. The closer you have your deco mesh, the fuller the hair will be. So I'm placing them like maybe an inch and a half apart from each other, just to see how that works for now. And this one I'm placing on the outside. So it all just determines how full you want it. So if you want it to be really, really full, I would stagger each one on a ring. So like, because I placed one here, I would place one here on the second ring, and then on the third ring I would go up one more, and then so forth until it's full. If I was using 2 colors, this is where I would put my second color. Okay. Okay. And I prefer to work from inside out because it's just easier for me. So I would do my entire inside row first, then I would go to the outside. And it looks a little thin now, but once you start putting more on it, the more you put on, the fuller it will look. So again, I'm going to show you how I roll. I just take my piece and I roll one end half the way, and then roll the other end the other half. Okay, and then just squeeze it together. Take my zip tie, wrap it, kind of like position it in the middle. it through, pull to tighten, and just snip the excess off. Once you've put your scarf on, then you can kind of add whatever accessories that you would like to add. For an option as well, they have a triple thick spray paint that you can use on your face to add an extra sealant. So when you hang it outside, it'll protect it against the rain and wind and kind of from fading too much. So that's an option as well. So I'm just going to keep rolling. And you don't have to use the roll method. It just depends on how you want your curls to look, or how do you want your afro to look, or the hair, whatever kind of outcome that you're looking for. It's totally up to you. Okay. So see how right here is already starting to look full, and I've only done it on the two rings. So that's why I say with the deco mesh, a little goes a long way. So what I did is I'll go a few distance on the inside and then come back on the outside. And this one is geared towards a sports wreath, since this is football season. This was a request, so that's why this is Dallas is first, because it was a request. So I decided to do a live video since I had to make one anyway. But I will be doing 2 wreaths today. Divana. So for everything, the wire wreath came from the Dollar Tree. For the piece of plywood that I got from Lowe's, I think I spent like $4 on. and I was able to get two faces out of it. For the deco mesh, for this size deco mesh, the 12 inch by 35 feet at Michael's is $9. So you're looking at about 35, a little less than $40 for everything. Yeah, including the fabric that I'm using. I got this from Hobby Lobby, and they had it for $12 a yard. So I purchased a yard, and at least at Hobby Lobby, you can use your 40% off coupon on this one. And then what I did is I cut it in half, and then it was still kind of wide, so I cut it in half again, so I was able to get 4 pieces off of this. And I think for that yard that I got was like $8. So you're looking at a total of about $40, maybe a little bit more. Now, it would be cheaper if you're using, it just depends on the material that you're using for your scarf. That really determines how much the wreath is actually going to cost you in making it. With the first one that I did with the crayon fabric, that one was a half a yard that I got from Walmart, and it was in that in the section where they have them pre-cut for like 97 cents, $1 or whatnot. That's where I got that piece from, and it didn't go all the way around the way how I wanted it to, so that's why I did it like if it's tied in the back to cover my head. So if you're going for that look, then that the small pieces at Walmart, the half a yards at Walmart would be sufficient. If you wanted to come all the way around back to the front and tie in the front, then you would need at least a yard for the 14-inch wreath ring. So if you're using a larger size ring, then you know you're going to need a longer piece of material. But I felt like the 14-inch was a pretty good size, and it was not too big for my classroom door. So the head image, I found it on Google, and because I work at a elementary school, I used some of our bulletin board paper to make a template out of, and I just laminated it just to make it sturdier. You can use regular size poster paper, a regular poster board. You can use that to make a template if you feel you're going to be making a whole lot of it and you want them all to be about the same size. That works as well. But at the time, I pretty much just use what I have on hand. So again, I wrap it with the zip tie. And I'm still working on that same two rows, the outer row and the second inner row from the outside. And I'll just turn my head as I go around. And if you would like, you don't have to use one off of Google. I just did it because that's where I was at the time. If you set up a lamp with the shade off, take the lamp shade off, and inside a fairly dark room, but not too dark, if you turn the lamp on and place a chair in front of it, you can do a silhouette of yourself or daughters, anyone that's in the house with you that's willing to sit for you to draw your outline. You can do that as well too. So that's another option for your silhouette. So the closer the person is to the lamp, the larger the silhouette is going to be. So just keep that in mind. Just determine what size you want your head to be. And I think this is going to be my standard size head that I will use for the 14-inch ring. If I decide to use a smaller ring, then my image would have to be a little smaller. So as you can see, I'm only doing 2 rows and it's really tight. So it's really full. You don't have to use a whole lot. And I'm just going to keep going around. Now, I would suggest, it just depends on you. If the wreath is going to be on the outside, I would use a plywood. If it's going to go on a door, like a classroom door for a teacher, or a bedroom door for a kid, using a foam board would work just fine. Feel free to ask any questions. So I'm just turning my head, turning the wreath as I go. The reason why I roll the two ends into each other is so that when you go to wrap it, the scraggly ends, the cut ends, will be on the inside of the curl and not on the outside, and it has less chance of frizzing and unraveling. Sometimes these deco mesh, they really shed. They have a tendency of shedding a lot. just keep rolling and tying. Until you get it looking the way how you want. Now as my hair gets full, I can look and see where I would want to add any colors if I wanted to. I would add the color on a separate row. And like I said, with the deco mesh, a little goes a long way because it's so full. It's so wide. It kind of like fills in gaps that you don't need a whole lot. The head size, let's see, I really didn't even measure it because I used the wreath with the silhouette as measurement to see how big. So it's about 20 inches long, by 13 inches wide. So if you get, I would say get a 22 by 15 piece of wood to cut out this size head. Like I said, it just depends on how big you want the face. Determines how much material you're gonna need. Whether it be the foam board or the plywood. And I try to find the thinnest piece that I could find. And again, like I said, I went inside Lowe's and they had pre-cut ones that they use for shelving, and I got it from that section. So by the time I got home, the only thing I had to do was draw out my pattern and cut it out with a jigsaw. And it was actually easier than what I expected it to be. I thought it would have been a little difficult using the jigsaw because I've never really used one before. But yeah, that's what we did. Hey, Allie. So one thing that I found is that with the cost of the deco mesh, Hobby Lobby, Michaels, and AC Moore, the prices are pretty much the same. They all have it for $9. I went inside Rose's Express, if you have a Rose's Express near you. Sometimes where they have their wreaths and flowers located at, you may be able to find some there, and you may not. So it just all depends. I happened to find that gold one that I did at that Rose's Express, and it was about the same size, but the roll was a little smaller. It didn't have as much on the roll as this one. So just keep in mind, different places may have the same material, but you want to keep in mind of how much material that they have on their rolls. So obviously less material on the roll, more rolls you will have to buy. So it all pretty much still comes out to you spending the same amount of money. So she's starting to look very full, if you can see. I don't know if you can see that very well. But she's starting to look very full. So I only have like this much left to filling. The longest part of this for me was actually cutting the deco mesh. And I must say, using this little rotary cutter, it makes the cutting process go by twice as fast as using a scissors, especially if you have a cutting mat to use on it. Just one little zip and you were done. So I did cut that. I did cut the deco mesh quicker using the rotary cutter than what I would have with the actual scissors. For the paint that I used, I just got some apple barrel paints from Walmart. They were 50 cents a piece, and I just got the different shades of brown and kind of play with it until I got the shades that I was looking for. For the fabric, you can check. I know that there's some Walmarts that carries the actual football, the NFL fabrics, and some of them don't. So I think it just depends on the location. The Walmart that that's close to me that used to carry it, they didn't have any, so that's why my second choice was to go to Hobby Lobby. And I want to say the price was almost the same. It was just a few dollars more at Hobby Lobby than what it was at Walmart. You can check Joann's or any other fabric store near you for the type of fabric that you want to use for your scarf. So it's totally up to you. Hey Sharon. So the closer you push it, the more you push it, the tighter it'll be, the fuller it will look. That's why I say you only really need to use 2 rows, and it could be any 2 rows that you choose on your wreath that you to use. And if I was adding color, I would put the color on the row that I don't have my main color on. So once you get your mesh cut, it pretty much goes by fairly quickly. I mean, at least for me, because I'm using zip ties. So I just feel personally that the zip ties is quicker than the pipe cleaners. And it's easier on my wrists with the turning. And I'll show you again how I attach it with the pipe cleaner. So once I've rolled it, start on the side first since you're already. Once I've rolled it on both sides, okay, I take my pipe, my zip tie, put it in the middle, and then attach it where you have the pipe cleaner on either side. And all I do is I take this finger and I hold it in place where I squeeze the 2 ends of the zip tie together, and then just take the other hand and push it through and pull. And then once I pull, just snip. And that's all I'm doing with the zip tie. And I'm just going to keep repeating that step until I'm done. So just flip her up, adjust her curls as you go to make it look just how you want it to look. So feel free to ask any questions that you may have. Again, I'm just rolling my two ends together. And securing with a zip tie. And again, this is just with me putting the deco mesh on 2 rows of the wire wreath. You can choose to do every other row as well. That would work. You would get the same effect as well versus putting all on the 2 rows. And the longer that the longer you cut your deco mesh, the taller your hair will be, so it'll make your afro looks a whole lot bigger than what I have here. So if you wanted one of those big, huge afros or curls, just cut your deco mesh at a longer length. So again, I cut mine at 10 inches long. And they also have the longer roll of deco mesh as well. That'll give you that same effect as well, if you wanted to stay within the 10-inch range. I would suggest using the taller, the longer roll of deco mesh to achieve that effect. So I have like maybe 3 more I need to add before I put my tie on. Okay, last one. Okay. So this is how she looks. This is how she looks so far without the scarf. Now I'm gonna add her wrap around her hair. Okay, so what I want to do is make sure that everything is flat, pushed up all the way around, so that it can lay as flat as possible. Now, so you have almost like a mohawk style. Then I'm gonna stand up for this one. I'm gonna take my scarf and I'm gonna leave some of the hair out in the front. I just decided to do that just now. It wasn't what I had intended to do, but I think it'll look nice. So I will bring it on around and make sure it's the same length, so you have it even. Okay, just like this. Okay. And just position your fabric the way that you want it to go. Okay, so that's going there. Then I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing so that when you gather it, everything will come together the way how you want it to. Okay. So I'm just going to push that back, and as I said, I'm just decided to leave this little piece out in the front. I think it'll look cute. Okay. And then I'm just going to twist it. And knot it. Kind of tuck it in as so. So there you have it. Now looking at it, you can decide whether if this is full enough for you. I think I may add a few in between just to give it a little more, just to make it a little more fuller for me. Okay. So I'm just gonna roll and go in between, and I'm putting it on the row where I have none at, and I think I'm gonna add like maybe 5 more pieces. In between, just so that when the light hits it, you won't be able to see, it won't look as hollow. But like I said, it's totally up to you. Just however you want it. However you want it to look, it's totally up to you. There we go. this area up here to the top. So, there you have it. This is the finished product. And this is the knot. And you can add different accessories to it as you want. Like you can add like an earring here, or if you want to add a necklace there around the neck. The choice is yours.